Hello and welcome to Castle of Horror, the show dedicated to horror movies and awesomeness. This week, we have a look at the 1967 film Son of Godzilla. Son of Godzilla. I had looked this movie up and I mistyped Song of Godzilla, which, if you think about it, would be a great movie, whatever that is, but it is not that. This is Son of Godzilla, and it
I'm
is.
picturing whale songs for
I know,
some reason.
right?
Yeah.
There'd be
Well, I mean,
scientists.
we've got the Mothra song, but the Godzilla song is
Well, and there's in
we'll
this
pick it up
movie,
later.
there's a little thing that she kind of does. It's like a song. Anyway, we can talk about
Yes.
that later.
There's plenty of room. This is episode
Yeah.
373 of the Castle of Horror show. That number does not count the interviews. It doesn't count one-offs. It doesn't count leanbacks. It is just the main line. The cast gets together on a week. We work from our agenda, what I'm looking at on my screen right now, and we talk about a movie. This is 373 of our series. Bear in mind, if you haven't seen today's movie, we're going to be talking from the perspective of horror fans who have seen it. So, warning, spoilers ahead. From Denver, Colorado, I'm your host, Jason Henderson, publisher at Castle Bridge Media, home of the Castle of Horror anthology. I know I'm very stopped up, and I'm very sorry. Hopefully, I won't sound like this in the next couple of weeks. With me from Austin is Tony Savaggio, lead singer and bassist of the band Deserts of Mars and lead guitarist of the band Rise from Fire. Say hello, Tony.
Howdy.
Howdy. Also in Austin, Mr. Drew Edwards is the writer-creator of the long-running underground comic Halloween Man, currently published by Comixology. He is the Best Writer Ringo nominee, Austin Chronicle Best of Austin Award winner, and a member of the PEN America Fellowship. Say hello, Drew.
Hello.
Hello. And finally, also in Denver, not stopped up, color commentary from Julia Guzman of Guzman Immigration of Denver. Say hello.
Hello, and happy Father's Day. We're recording this on Father's Day. So happy Father's Day to Jason and to all the dads out there, and Drew and Tony, who are pet dads.
Yes. Yeah.
That's why we chose Son of Godzilla for Father's Day, in honor of Father's Day.
That's right. This was, yeah. Son of Godzilla was a suggestion. I think it came
Well,
up
I
in the
said, do we
conversation.
have any suggestions for anybody have any suggestions for Father's Day? And Tony was like, well, there's this. And it is perfect. It is absolutely
Yeah, I mean,
perfect.
there's a bunch.
It
This is the
this is
one that
perfection.
combined monsters and dads in a way that is also enjoyable and not heavy. So
Not
No,
heavy.
it was perfect.
Yeah. Movies about dads have this tendency to be often quite dark because directors are often people who are working through stuff, and so it can be difficult to find a movie about dads that is fairly lightweight. But here's one: Son of Godzilla, which goes by a number of Japanese names, including the literal translation of Monster Island's Decisive Battle, Godzilla's Son, is a 1967 Japanese kaiju film directed by Jun Fukuda with special effects from Sadamasa Arikawa under the supervision of Tsuburaya. This is a Toho film. It is the 8th Godzilla movie. And it is kind of remarkable. It's 1967. It's 13 years after the first one, and in 8 films, we have gotten to the point where the living embodiment of atomic trauma now has a kid and is goofing off trying to sleep while the kid bounces around his tail. It is so wonderful to try to grapple with how we got from there to here and what that means. And to start with that, Julia, we haven't started with you in a while, and I know, I'm sorry, I know that you were charmed by this. So, Julia, what are your thoughts? And then we'll go Tony and Drew. Julia.
Well, first of all, I want to say that I'm actually kind of upset with Tony and Drew that we're just now seeing this movie. I feel like we should have seen this much sooner, and we should have that I've watched a lot of Godzilla movies, and that this has not been one until this point is upsetting to me. But anyway, I loved this movie. It was so fun, so cute, really enjoyable. It even gets scary there the second half, or maybe the last third, with the damn spy guy, the horrible spider. I hate spiders, so the giant spider terrified me. So it's got kind of a little bit of everything. It's got laughs, it's got some scares, it's got monsters. It's really, really, really fun. Like you said, before we start talking, it's got beach tiki themes.
Yeah.
So I loved it. I think whoever did come up with the kinds of interactions that Godzilla and his son have is a parent for sure, because all of that stuff with the kid, just like you said, jumping on the dad's tail and trying to get his attention, just running around and being crazy and trying to do stuff, all of that is totally accurate. I love the actor in the Minilla suit. I love the the Godzilla interactions with him. The whole thing. It was just really, really fun. I enjoyed it tremendously.
Thank you so much. Me too. Tony, what about you?
Yeah, I really like this movie. I think it's maybe not my favorite Godzilla movie overall, but it has so many enjoyable bits. And again, this was when we're spitballing what we should do for Father's Day. I immediately thought of this because I just think all the Godzilla interactions, and the fact that he's a adopted dad.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, I need to take care of this kid, and sometimes begrudgingly. He does a lot of like, I don't know. But, I know some, I have some close friends who are also single dads. And, there are some days where they're like, oof, it was tough today. Right.
Yeah.
But Godzilla soldiers on, and he's, does what he can do to teach Minya all of the things that you need to learn as a growing radioactive lizard. And
Do they pronounce it Minia or Minilla? Minia? Is that how you said it?
It's put like mini Godzilla, but
yeah, but did you say Minilla or Minia?
Like Minya. Like you'll see it as Minya and Minilla. Like it's kind of has depends on what version. Because often in the dubs he's often just called Minya.
Okay.
And there's a test screening that was Minya, Son of Godzilla, for one of the other for the other Minya. All Monsters Attack, which is probably my least favorite, or Godzilla's Revenge, probably my least favorite Godzilla movie, which I'll get into that later. But I think it's interesting. Has it's one of the few where you have like an adventure side of things. I think it has some of the most the longest sequences of just people doing adventure things.
Yeah.
And unlike a lot of them, there's also not a antagonist that's either human or alien. All the antagonists are monsters in this one.
Right.
Considering how much of it is the weather, the science team and journalists doing what they do. So there's actually a lot to discuss, and it is fun. It's got a crazy soundtrack that is
I love the
fits in really
soundtrack.
well.
Loved it so
It
much.
fits in really well. Yeah. It's just there's a lot. It's light, but then there's scary parts if you really are into the danger that Godzilla's adopted son is in. Like all of that works, and some really great, like the fact that they're moving Spiga around on these the puppeteering that's involved in that, and the mantis Kamanga creatures. All that stuff is really done well. I dig it.
Fantastic. Okay, you gave us actually a lot of topics we can follow up on there too. Drew, anything you'd want to add to that? And then I want to jump into the whole concept of the baby Godzilla.
I also really like this movie. I think it's fun. It holds up. I like both of the island Godzilla movies. I really like Godzilla versus the Sea Monster as well.
Mhm.
I think this one is a little better. Definitely top-notch puppetry. Like the Gigantus those are really cool. Like I think out of all the Godzilla special effects from this time period, those ones really stand out to me. Like the puppetry and everything and the design of them, just they really work. The miniatures are really great in this.
Yeah.
It's still, despite the fact that this is definitely more kid-friendly entry into the franchise, it's still got some like dark stuff, like the science guys manipulating the guys working for them into thinking that the radio's broken, the guys getting the guys catching a fever and one of them going like nuts. So there's still some stuff that's unnerving. I think the spider, the stuff with the spider is actually suitably scary, which is another reason why this was kind of a favorite in my household when I was a kid as well. Just this is just a top-notch Godzilla movie. I know some people don't like it because they don't like the idea of a cute baby Godzilla, and I guess I get that, but I think this is a lot of fun.
Well, it's also
I mean,
scary when his baby Godzilla is being targeted by the giant mantis
Yes.
creatures.
oh
Yep.
sure,
This is true.
it's I mean, it is a lot more light-hearted, and I could get why you might not be on board with that, but I think it's great. Yeah, and I mean, I'm fine with him on Destroy All Monsters. Like, he's still around.
Yes.
So I just dig it. Like, Island
Uh,
Godzilla is not bad Godzilla, in my opinion. So
right. I can see if you're a certain kind of viewer, because let's talk about Baby Godzilla, the concept, and where this concept has gone in the Godzilla franchise along the way. But I can see if you're like a real purist and you're like, I only want to think about the 54, like deep meaning, Akira Kubo music, that Godzilla. I only want to think about that. Then this will just strike you as kind of sacrilegious because by all accounts, what's going on here is, Toho said quoted in Famous Monsters that couples going to the movies is a big popular thing in the 60s, and they wanted to create something that a couple would like, translation that a girl would like, that's they could laugh together and cuddle and be amused by Godzilla struggling with a baby. So this is the complete domestication of the concept of Godzilla. The idea that you would take something so traumatic and grow something cute and funny out of it could be taken as something very awful and very unhealthy. On the other hand, we could think of it as something like a rebirth or a regrowth, a finding of beauty in what was repulsive. So I don't know. Anyway, we've got to
also,
keep
by the
Godzilla.
way, you don't since we have home video now in various form, you don't have to watch any of the movies you don't want to. That's the other thing. It's like I don't watch often. Although my last watch of it, I kind of warmed ever so slightly. All
Yeah.
Monsters Attack. That's a film that's like it. That goes into the most of it's a clip show. It's God's Son of Godzilla. Minilla teaching a boy to stand up to bullies, and I get why it's there.
Wait, that's got
it's
all
fine.
Monsters Attack? I thought that was
All
called
Monsters
something
Attack,
else.
also called Godzilla's Revenge.
Is it really? I didn't know that. Okay, all right.
Yeah. Anyway, but here's the thing. It's in the box set that I have, the Criterion set. Beautiful. And these prints are from that. They have the Janus Films logo. So all these prints are really good. That we can now watch streaming. But guess what? I don't have to watch anything I don't want to watch.
Right.
And so I don't watch that movie. So if you're like, this ruined it, yes, the franchise kind of flowed into a more mainstream, kid-friendly series, and then it picked back up, and then it kind of headed back that way. It ebbs and flows.
Right.
But if you just want to watch 54 Godzilla, you can do that.
Right.
Or you can enjoy Megalon or not. Like, you don't have to watch Jet Jaguar ever if you don't want to. And
It's
that's
so
the
funny
thing
to
that
think that
always
Megalon
gets
is
me.
still.
It's like, look at what they've done. Like, I still can, especially if you can buy, like, if everything's available to you.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes you can't, for a while you can only get dubbed versions of these movies, right?
And
That's
by
just
the way,
what
I
we
did
have.
watch a dubbed version of this. I watched.
Whatever you. I prefer the subtitled version, but again, you can watch whatever. When you don't have a choice, it's a little bit different. You do have a choice, and not only a choice, but depending on what you have available to you, you could watch one of several dubs. Like, I'll watch the AIP for this and the other version for this or that. Like, so a lot I get the frustration sometimes, but I also am like anything. Like, I can't believe I watched that. I was like, you had a choice to click the back button or the X button at any time.
Yeah, that's so true. Yes.
And I don't understand, because time's a commodity you can't get back. Like, you can make more money, you can do a lot of things, but so these days, to me, it's on you, and I don't understand why some people get so mad at something because
it's a really good point.
And trust me, I get like this. I have my own fandom moments where I'm like, "Oh, that's terrible," but also, it's my
I
choice
think
to offer my
ranting
gripe about that.
I think that going on rants about art you don't like is one of those things that brings a poisonous kind of joy to people who do it. So
Yeah,
and in my
I mean, I guess.
experience, you know, well, there's a couple types. There's several types in my mind that fit this. One is the older like restaurant critic, like with a swell scarf and a tweed hat and ready to go on a rant about how nobody makes good hors d'oeuvres anymore. And the other is the douchebag young guy at a party about how nobody understands Godzilla.
Yeah, I mean, look, like I said, I'm not immune to any of this, and in fact,
Yeah.
a couple times. I mean, some of you guys' most favorite thing is referring to the rant I had about vampire movies. So I mean, I'm not proud of that, but
Oh, I'm so
I
sorry.
don't know.
All right.
Like for this, I think this is enjoyable, and I think it's fine. I think it's fine that there's all flavors.
Yep.
In my opinion.
So anyway,
You should be proud of
Minilla,
it because it brought me great joy.
all of us have been very
That's
happy.
amazing. I mean, that's if I do anything right in this world, it's introducing somebody to something that's fun.
Yes.
I mean, I think I wear that's a badge of honor to me. Like, introducing people to fun, cool stuff that they enjoy. That's great. That's amazing.
So the concept of a diminutive merchandisable baby Godzilla is something that it's amazing to me that it took as long as it did to make its way into the films. It takes something like 13 years, and it sticks around because even after this character's around a couple of movies, and then don't they have in the Millennium era? Don't they have a Son of Godzilla? He's
In
different.
the Heisei era, they have
Ah.
what they call Little Godzilla, which is
Mhm.
effectively a new version of
Yeah.
this character. The
And
design,
is he cute or is
he is also cute. Well,
He's
he
cuter.
eventually,
He's cute a different way.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
he eventually becomes a. The difference between that character and this character is that they actually show that character progressing in age. So eventually he
Right.
becomes more like Godzilla, a traditional version of Godzilla. But
Yeah.
it's he definitely starts out very cutesy.
Wow. Oh yeah, I'm seeing a picture of him. You're right. He looks like an updated design of the same character.
Sure.
Well, what I loved about this guy is I love that, like I say, I love the actor that's in the suit. So they have like, I guess the person playing the big Godzilla suit is like a basketball player. He's like a very, very, very tall person. So, but I don't know who is in the mini Law's suit. But he's very fun the way he moves, physical comedy, and then the way they animate the face with just like when he seems, it just, you really get the emotions that this character feels, like the frustration and the excitement and the, like
He's quite the acrobat.
fear,
The
all
actor's
of
name
it.
is Marchan or Machan, and he's sometimes called Marchan the Dwarf. And
Yeah, I figured it was a little person,
he's
but
Japanese, and he's really, because look at how, not using wires or anything. He's in this darn suit, like, and he's like rolling all around and doing,
no,
and
it's just so cute.
he's
And
amazing.
all the things all the choices he makes, all the choices they make with the facial animation as well, are brilliant. I love the when he's learning how to use his fire breath, and
Yeah.
you're just really rooting for him. Like Jason was out of town, so I was watching it by myself, and I have learned on occasion that it doesn't matter if I'm by myself or with somebody else. I will talk just as much either way. And so I was just the whole time just going, oh, no, no, come on, Minilla, you can do it. You've got this. I'm like cheering him on. And he does those little smoke rings. It's just so funny. And then
I love the sounds, by the way, that indicate that he's still giant, because when he jumps up and down,
Right.
the ground makes King Kong sounds.
Well,
It goes,
and when
bonk,
he's fighting,
bonk,
when he's fighting Spiga, however you say it,
Mhm.
the cave is like crumbling. It's like the
Yes.
ceiling of the cave is gonna
Right.
cave in. But anyway, but just really great choices. that they
So
make with that character.
you said, thank you, Joy. Tony, you said this is an adoptive baby. So let's talk about this, where this egg comes from. The egg is sending out the Godzilla egg. There's a Godzilla egg. I don't know if it's Godzilla's egg that he's returning for. Is it just another Godzilla race
Yeah, why do
personage?
you say it's adopted? Like, why do we think he's not genetically related to Godzilla?
Well, he is in that they're
because
the
of-
same species.
Yeah,
No, but I mean, like, why
But
is he not a offspring?
Godzilla's. I mean, it's kind of because Godzilla's born from nuclear,
Yeah, that's true.
testing and
Boy, I
affected
never
by
thought
that.
about
I mean,
that.
right?
But
we're
couldn't
not,
he have
like,
couldn't he have this offspring that now has his same thing? Right?
I mean, I guess if it was kind of Rain was actually asking this is kind of a seahorse kind of thing, maybe. But it seems all indicators are that the egg was there. It got uncovered. It's from a Godzilla species, and I guess Godzillasaurus. Gojirasaurus knows where that, when it needs to be, where it needs to be.
When I was a little kid, when I was first watching this, I actually had this all worked out in my head, even though they never say it in the movie, is that the egg, when the gigantists like dig the egg up, it's underground, leading to me that this is like a prehistoric egg that somehow got, in my head, it got reactivated by the testing.
It could have that, right, and it could have been irradiated.
That's what they're talking about. I mean, there's all the stuff that they're doing that basically is affecting the weather and the radiation and everything like that. That's the catalyst. I think as far as I know, we're supposed to believe that it's the catalyst for all of that.
The scientists make some very poor choices, I have to say.
So
There's a lot
before
of
we move
things
on to
that
the
they do
scientists,
that I'm just like, really?
I totally want to talk about their setup, but thank you, by the way, for indulging me and talking about Minilla, because that was really neat. Julia, you and I, even though Tony's warned us that it's not very good, so okay, we're prepared for that. Godzilla's Revenge, which is the next movie to feature this character, is a clip show, basically, where kids being bullied, and his imaginary friend Minilla shows up and says, "Let's talk about
Jason,
the
I'm gonna
things."
let you watch it on your own because Drew is convincing me that I'm probably not gonna want to
No,
watch it.
Julia, I think if Jason, I think you got to watch it to get. I think
don't. There's no. It's terrible. Like,
how can it be a terrible clip show?
I will say,
show.
Drew, I don't know when the last time you watched it was.
It's lazy. Like, first of all, I hate clip shows. Like, when I was a kid and a TV show did that, it infuriated me. So the fact that it was a Godzilla movie that was doing that made me feel so ripped off, and I have nothing but bile and hatred for that movie. I've only seen it once, and I'm telling you, Julia, honestly, just don't.
I'm sold, dude. I'm sold. I have better things to do.
No. I agree with you, Drew. But when I got the Criterion set and I went through them all, I actually, and again, only slightly, warmed up. Like, I was like, because I got to watch the sub version too.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a little bit different. I do think I would love to hear both of you watching it and let me know what you think.
That does sound
to me
like
it is my least favorite Godzilla movie. However, it does have it's such an odd bird too, because it's just, what we need is kids. Kids get bullied. Let's have our child Godzilla help this kid to work through his stuff.
Yeah.
That's just.
If only there were an MST version, then I could watch.
If
it
only
that would be.
I wonder.
But Tony, like I have that Criterion collection too, and I've never. I've never felt the need to rewatch Godzilla's Revenge.
It was only I was running through all. I'm like, I'm gonna do this, and seeing a really good print subtitled. Again, it's not I don't need to see it anytime soon again. I think you're right. But if you enjoyed this movie that much, I am. You've been warned, but I think it's worth at least just checking out, because I think it's streaming as well on it. I think all the Criterion ones are streaming.
Yeah, they're all on there, and I think for my money, a better movie with a similar vibe, even though it does not have a baby Godzilla, is Godzilla versus the Sea Monster.
Okay,
I got you.
And
I'm with you.
Godzilla versus the Sea Monster does have an MST3K episode, for what it's
Yeah,
worth.
probably on HBO under its Japanese name of Ebra Horror of the Deep, which admittedly is a cooler name. But
The great thing is we've still got, in this period, the 1960s Showa Godzillas. To me, all the Godzillas of this period, especially through like Megalon, look like puppy dogs. And I just find it so hilarious what Godzilla starts to look like. He looks like a little border terrier, basically, or a giant border terrier.
I would say this suit is kind of bizarre in a way.
Yeah,
to
the
me.
one in
I
this
have
film,
noticed it
yes.
has in this film. It's got like the neck is really bulbous. Like has
I think
a weird.
the head is a little too rounded, so that the eyes you don't get the impression of they haven't brought the brow out in the way that they do in other masks.
he
so that
kind
the
of looks
brow,
like a
you know,
toad at certain angles.
yeah, it's
The neck
Yeah.
the neck thing is the thing that I didn't notice as much before, and now that it have really good watch a really good print of it, was like, oh, it's not my favorite Godzilla suit, but
No.
it's not bad. I mean, it looks good, and it he's able to do a lot of cool Godzilla
Sure.
stuff.
If you want to look at a lot of them, by the way,
design,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
yeah, the design was just not my favorite, I guess. But
I
I mean,
agree.
again, even lesser Godzilla suits are still pretty awesome.
Yeah, there's a GodzillaFandom.com wiki or the Gojipedia, basically, that will give you the rundown on all of the suits and the tiny differences between each of the suits. It's pretty great, and it's
I love all of that.
Yeah. it's wonderful. All right, so this film, though, the introduction of Baby Godzilla comes in a plot that involves, and it's very isolated, right? This is not one where they keep moving back to the UN. This is a story about a bunch of scientists on an island doing weather experiments for science, and
They're just sciencing. I kept thinking of Tony every time stuff would happen. I'd be like, I'm sciencing some more now.
right.
Right.
Yep.
And
Do
they're
more science.
well, it's so fun because these guys fit into. They remind me kind of the guys in The Thing, just sort of goofing off and going about their jobs and bitching about it, and I love
And
seeing
universally griping about their boss, which
Right.
is amazing.
I like the professor who's their boss, and he's the kind of character, and I never know if this is just a character type in all literature worldwide or if it's a particularly Japanese type. But for instance, when things go particularly well, he doesn't emote at all. He actually just sort of nods sagely.
It's very stoic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Great. I love that. If you dig that kind of character, this is one. Into their lives comes Goro, who is a Hawaiian shirt wearing journalist who, in the logic of this film, when he lands there, since they're not going to have a boat come and bring anybody off in a long time, he says he wants to research what they're doing. They put him to work as a member of the research station.
Well,
And
first they put him to work as like cleaning toilets and cooking.
yeah, and then he becomes the
Right.
cook.
Well,
And
it
he's-
was his fault for following, because he's like, hey, what's going on? Because the whole setup is they're like, hey, something's going on this island. There shouldn't be anything going on this island. Let me go check it out. So he just parachutes. I mean, if the mantises had killed everybody, the
Yes.
Komangas had killed everybody, he would be really in dire straits.
This is what I'm saying about everybody makes
know.
bad choices. And there's a lot of bad choices happen in this film.
Well, that's
true.
yeah. And let's talk about some of them. So the last person that we need to mention, besides some of the workers who are just bitching about their job all the time, there is in their lives a mysterious island girl.
At first, I thought she was going to be like a mermaid or something, but no.
Right, but no, she's just so innocent as to surpass sexy and stretch.
She's basically Tarzan, female
yes,
Tarzan.
Yes, but this is such a lightweight aimed at a mainstream crowd that there is not a scintilla of sexiness. It's all just sort of sweetness and light. There's no blue lagooning going on here. She's just, I mean, as soon as she gets a hold of a Hawaiian shirt, she makes it into a dress. As soon as she gets some white pants, she puts on a belt. I mean, it's very interesting how this island girl becomes like really just another researcher girl who also happens to have grown up on the island.
She has useful information about the island.
Yes.
Right.
But
I love
also
all of
Jason,
that.
like also Jason, the lack of like sort of volume with this character.
Yeah.
Again, this was being aimed more at kids at this point. Like, I don't think that they would have thought
I guess you're
to
right. Yeah.
have done something, super sexy simply because of the type of
Right.
target audience they were going for.
I'm sure you're right.
And the first Godzilla movie to feature a female writer
Really? Well, there you
in
go.
collaboration. Yeah,
This is what she wanted to do.
early draft by Kaijū Shima.
Wow. I mean, I like that this character is here. First of all, because if not for this character, there would be no women in the story at all. There would be no women plus a single dad who is struggling to figure out how to fit his son into his busy life. That would be the movie, and there would be. But now,
I just love that that's the tagline that you've come up with. A single dad tries to figure out how to fit his son into his busy life.
yes, busy
So
life.
funny.
Gotta kick some like giant praying mantises and some giant spiders. There's and there's this moment and with that where they're explaining to the professor that they saw a giant spider, because some of the plot is really interesting, that they keep setting up like missions that they have to go on. Oh, you're gonna have to go do this and get this. They say there's a giant spider. The professor says to the island girl, "Tell me more about this giant spider." And she says, and I quote, "It's a giant spider." that's, that's the line.
Part of that, I think, because I think at this point the people who live in the Godzilla verse like are a lot more
Yeah.
like blasé about giant insects, giant dinosaurs, giant whatever. Like, even at the way this movie starts, where you have
Yes.
the guys flying through, a storm, and they look down and they see Godzilla. Like, they're concerned because, hey, there's Godzilla, but it's not like,
No, it's more
this-
like a volcano or something.
yeah, and like,
Can we talk about that? That looked so cool, didn't it? With
Yeah.
Godzilla there silently, no sound, because they're inside the helicopter and he's just splashing around in the water in the middle of the ocean. Like that actually I found slightly intimidating. The idea that Godzilla's
Yeah.
out there, and just in the
Well,
waves.
he's something you have to watch for in the same way a hurricane or
Yeah.
anything else. You're out there and you're like, oh, there's weather pattern coming through. Oh, there's a Godzilla coming through. And I think by the time we get to this point, there is this world where you live with giant monsters now.
well, even the
Yeah.
way they're being about the giant, because like they're doing a scientific experiment, but there's also just happens to be giant mantises on this
Yes.
island, and like I
Right.
think if they did not live in the Godzilla verse, they would be like, hey, let's stop doing this weather control thing for a second and study these giant.
It's a really good point. I hadn't thought about
giant
that.
mantises.
Yeah, why
Right.
aren't they like the guy in the expeditions to Shangri-La and everything? He's like, I'm going to bring back proof that there are these magical places. This sure seems to be one, but to Tony's point, they now live in a universe where giant mantises are just a thing that might happen if you're here. I like the guy, the member of the crew who is, Drew, you made some reference to this. He is just, he's sick of it. He's sick of the heat, and he's about to go nuts.
It's like a G-rated version of The Thing with this
Right.
guy.
Yeah, exactly.
I wanted to say before you moved away from this, though, that it's their, again, with the poor choices, it's their fault that there's giant mantises, and it's their fault that there's a giant spider, because they decide it's a good idea to create a
Well,
radiation
no,
storm.
because the mantises were already there. They just got bigger, and the spider's been there for a while because the native girl knows.
Huh.
So
Yeah. And
I
she
thought
knew,
that was
about
all-
the she knew
I
about
thought
the
she saw it
mantises,
after they made it happen.
but everything's more active related to
Yeah.
them because they do increase the heat. And
Yeah,
so
no, they increase a
just
lot of-
like
Just like humans do, they just make everything a little bit
Right.
worse for the environment.
But
Right.
even if like
So
let's say even if their radiation is what created these giant bugs, they seem pretty nonplussed about
Right.
it. Like they're a lot calmer
sure.
than I
Yeah,
think
for
they
sure.
would have been,
100%.
7 sequels ago.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
no, that's absolutely right. And also that just gives you an idea, though, of the sort of amazing world that they're living in. That this is not like 1954, where you're making an allegory and otherwise it's our world. This is Godzilla's world. Um,
Well, it is. I mean, they are trying to do something with, hey, should we mess with, because regardless of if they were as giant or whatever, the heat is what kind of brings everything
mhm.
forward, and why they have to worry about them, why they haven't been worried about them before this, because so their experiments are leading to this. But there is something about, hey, should we mess with the climate? Is it okay? And even at the end when they're leaving, that island is screwed.
Yeah.
As
No,
far
it's a
as,
really good
it was never
allegory.
meant to be that.
It's a really good allegory, or I guess metaphor, whatever the proper term is, for what we do as, like I say, as humans, to nature and to the environment and to each other. Because, like you said, he's just kind of like, hey, my experiments, my sciencing is more important than
Yeah.
the crew or the future of this island or creatures or anybody.
Right. 'Cause
Right.
either way, like, they're doing it away from civilization and trying to keep it secret. But also, if there were any endangered species, or if this was a Galapagos style place, by the end of it, I mean, they're changing things for the worse throughout.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, their big
And
plan
so like,
is
if there anything that was possibly important there throughout this whole movie, too bad.
right.
For the
Right.
Well,
island.
that's the same thing as nuking an island, because you want to nuke an
Sure.
island. Whatever was there otherwise.
Or underwater. Like, we actually do a lot of
Right.
nuclear stuff underwater, and we act
Yeah.
like, oh well, it's fine because underwater. It's like, no, there's like a whole universe
Yeah, there are things
underwater of
underwater.
creatures
Yeah.
that we're just obliterating.
Yep.
So their plan is that they're going to set off this. They have basically a two-part weather balloon thing. They're supposed to release one balloon and then one following it, and one of them is sort of a detonator, and it ideally what it will do is cause snow and
Well, they
so
well
forth.
they exploded. Their
yeah.
idea is to bring down global temperatures if
Right.
necessary, wherever. Which is
Yeah, and so they're testing it here.
not the
Um,
worst plan, but they explode something, and then they seed in the same way we sometimes will seed clouds for rain.
Yeah.
They seed it with this other kind of atomic,
Right.
science-y.
So the first one
There's some
doesn't
science there
work
into the
because
air.
they only
Right.
managed to do half of their two-part process, and so what they instead send is a torrential wet heat wave that just makes it unbearable for humans to live, and that lasts for like 3 days.
Right.
Um,
And wrecks the island because it's a storm.
yes, yeah, because they send a monsoon. Essentially, they're like, and the funny thing is, this is for an Asian audience. I'm sure they're going, "Oh, great, you created a monsoon bomb. That's just what we need." What a great
Right.
idea. So yeah, essentially what happens is you've got two sets of monsters: the mantis, the spider, and the scientists trying to do their experiments. Very much like Twister, weirdly enough, because in the end, the big suspense is, are they going to be able to like get their newfangled machine to work in the middle of all of the monster stuff going on, and they do.
And will Minilla make it?
Right, and Joyo, did you find yourself? What did you feel like when they set off the weather bomb and the snow comes down and
No, it's so
Minilla?
stressful. Everything about that's one of the things I like
Yeah.
too. Is he's cute, but he also adds so much edge of your seat anxiety to this film, because you're constantly worried. Like, you worry as soon as he's born, he gets
Yeah,
attacked by the praying
right.
mantis.
They try to eat
Like,
his
they
egg.
immediately start. Well, they try to eat the egg, and then they try to kill him. So
Yes,
he's immediately
Right.
at risk. And so the whole time, so then he's at risk from just nature and things happening around him. Then he's at risk from the spider, and then while they're fighting the spider, he is when they start to freeze the island. So then I'm like, well, even if the spider doesn't, oh my god, that spider was terrifying, by the way.
yeah,
The way like that it kills, like it's like, because first the fact that it throws its web on everything, so it's like constantly trapping everybody, and then when it finally kills the mantis, the giant mantis, it's like this spear, like this. It looked
Yeah.
like metal.
Yeah,
It's got a
Anyway, but
switchblade in its
yeah.
face.
yeah, and so that was terrifying. So then you're
Great
seeing him.
sound effects too.
Yes.
Great effects all around. Like those
Right.
those creatures really feel scary. They feel big and they feel scary. And they feel big. Yeah, they feel like huge. But anyway, so then when they finally defeat the spider at the very last second, they're freezing. And I'm like, oh my gosh! After all this, they're gonna freeze to death. And then of course the characters have a helpful line where they go, "But don't worry, they're just gonna be, they're
They're
reptiles.
gonna
They'll
hibernate.
just be asleep for
Yeah.
a while." It's like, okay, whatever.
Well,
and I forgot that also
I
if you're
overfed
watching
these
it
fish.
in the
Sorry.
yeah, if you're watching the dub, it's Spiga, and if it's the sub version,
I think they
it's
said
manga,
Spyga on the one that
original.
I was watching. Yeah, but it
Oh,
doesn't really
yeah,
matter.
and then the Kamakuras were the mantis, which is also Gimantis.
Mhm.
But yeah, so there's different names depending on which one you watch as well.
Mhm.
But
But great
yeah, that-
effects,
I-
really, really good effects for the creatures. I mean, I thought they were just terrifying.
One thing I
they
wanted
and
to
they
yeah.
emote well too, even though they're
Yes.
a suit.
Yeah.
Like that's something that's also impressive, to take something that's physically burdensome to wear or to operate. I mean,
Yes.
they're saying that 2 to 3 people were operating each leg on the Kamanga
Wow.
Spiga monster. That is cool. And
Well, and then I love that they have.
you get the evil, and you get the way that I love that they also have the mantis doing like soccer moves when they're throwing
Well, and so many wrestling moves from
rocks and
Godzilla.
stuff.
So many
Like-
wrestling moves.
Like
Yeah,
I
I
had
noticed
forgotten
that.
about how much
Oh, yeah.
Godzilla is just a straight up wrestler, like picking
Yeah.
you up and
Yep.
like doing this
Yeah,
pile
total
driver,
wrestling.
boom.
But also, I wanted to say that I like that when the spider shoots its web, if it's shooting it at a giant, it's like a spray, like a misty spray that it kind of looks like, But when it's the people, it's these like streamers, these ribbons, And
Right.
it's clear that, oh my gosh, this is like really big. That these are really big webs that it's shooting. But it doesn't look like that because of when the giants are giant, it doesn't seem like that at all.
Right.
It's all of that stuff. The way that they think about scale is really impressive to me.
I just wanted
Also,
to.
and
Okay.
we're talking about Psycho, and then
Mhm.
without her though, these guys would totally be screwed, because when they
Psycho being the island girl,
get
just so we
when they get sick, she's the one who's helping them out.
She takes them to the red. She gets them the red water, which is a cure. But something I want to point out, what
Mhm.
also went into that red water? Atomic Godzilla breath. So
Yes.
Exactly. I was thinking about that. Like,
Yeah.
I don't. Ooh.
I know.
I get
fair.
the half-life of atomic breath must be shorter. We're gonna.
All
Well,
I
that's
know-
that's that really cute
we're also
scene
not,
where
we're not
he's,
supposed to think about it. Yeah.
where he's teaching the baby how to use his breath.
All
Anyway,
I know is that when Godzilla stops fling around in this movie, he starts blasting the giant spider to death with his atomic breath. So that stuff, it still seems pretty lethal.
Toxic.
I love the
Yeah.
way that they signal.
No, I'm with you.
When the way they signal when a monster is no longer operative is you beat it, you whack it, you cut it, but if you set it on fire, it's done. Like if you
That's it,
if
yeah.
you heat up a monster enough that that its external body just catches fire, that is the end of that monster. And that's the logic of this. And it should be. Look, I'm not critiquing this. I'm just saying that after a while you learn the language.
Right.
That's why hence the expression "kill it with fire."
Right.
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
love the guy inside the Godzilla suit. He does more business in this movie than in any of the previous ones, like with being human, because they've got this Minilla kid. They now they create a sort of domestic human situation, and they just are going to goof off and do stuff. So Godzilla will be frustrated that Minilla is running around. And his shoulders are. Godzilla will roll his shoulders and his here it is. Haruo Nakajima is the guy who plays Godzilla, and he just brings so much to this role. You
Well,
feel
like I
and
say,
it- yeah.
you even feel the irritation, the parental irritation of like,
Yes.
I am trying to freaking take a nap here. Oh my god, can you chill out for 2
The
seconds?
only film I'm aware of where Godzilla takes naps. I mean, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
Well, he
just
needs
something
one.
so
He's a dad.
goofy in this.
Please. he's never had to be a dad before.
I know,
That's
it's
what all of
exhausting.
my friends are like. I know, my friend Max, 2 kids are running around and they're precocious and, they're great kids. Like they're awesome. They're awesome to hang out with. They're cool. But, the difference is if I'm hanging out, I leave and that's fine. Same with my nieces and nephews, right? Like, it's great. But yeah, Godzilla up until this point, I mean, he's been fighting monsters, but he hasn't had a son of Godzilla going, I'm hungry. Where are
Play
there
with me.
are
Come
there more
on.
mantises? What's on the other side of the island? Have you ever left the island? Did you get
And then,
what are
like
trees
5
like?
seconds.
What's the water like? What's the ocean like?
And then as soon as it's quiet, it's like the parents always say, it's too quiet. Because as soon as it's quiet,
Yep,
everybody's like, it's in
yep.
peril.
Right. He wanders and
Are you
looks over
hanging
a
out
little
with
hill.
that human woman again?
Right.
Oh,
Oh my gosh. And so I love this movie for its just complete goofiness. I mean,
That's the thing is, I can see again why this may not be someone's favorite Godzilla movie, but when they went to say this is the movie we're creating, a movie for couples, maybe for family, they went all the way. But it's still a pretty decent adventure movie too, because it's got all the stuff from any island adventure movie,
great effects,
any of the high island adventure dinosaur movies we've covered. This has a bunch of that, people hiding in caves and trying to put their equipment back together and dodging monsters, like all of that stuff. This has all of that, so that's success as far as that goes.
Yes.
Whether or not you favor that or not is a different issue, but they made exactly the movie that has all the bits that they wanted to make, and I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Here's the thing too. Like, I also can understand why this, if you want like the darker, edgier Godzilla, why this would not be your thing. But there is so much technical good stuff, like the miniature work in this movie. We've talked about how good the puppetry on the various insectoid monsters are, like the performances and everything. Like you cannot say that this isn't an above average monster flick. It is very well executed.
And other than maybe a little bit of kind of some slightly dodgier process shots, like, and I don't mind that, and I think you do with what the technology the technology was that at the time. Comparatively, there's a couple process shots where people might go, oh, it doesn't look as good. But other than that, the crossovers between miniature world and, regular size, sets is done really well.
Really well.
I think there's a lot of like really nice crossover bits, and even the Julia was pointing out, like the details between the monster-sized webbing that is monster-sized. Whenever people, it's huge kind of rope.
That you can melt
at
with
human
spiders.
level. I mean, that's
the
great.
only way.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Well, and then when the giant pincer of the the spider is like poking his one of his legs into the cave, and it's giant.
Exactly.
I was so scary. I was really effective to make you feel like they're actually in danger.
All that
I was
stuff
worried.
Is great.
Let's see. I want to make sure that is there anything else that we didn't talk about that we should talk about? And if not, we should get our final thoughts. This has been a lot of fun to discuss, but we haven't necessarily taken a prosaic way through. But I don't think it really matters, because I think we hit the major points.
Well, I think there's still, again, there's depending on how you see it. I think it's still the reason we brought it up as far as a Father's Day movie. I think it really works, and maybe by the time people are listening to this, it'll Father's Day will have passed, but maybe put it on your list for next year, or just keep Father's Day going. I don't know.
I think we'll keep Father's Day in our hearts for another week. Yes. Yeah.
Godzilla, we love you every time. But as the book title goes, but I think it at heart has some really great adventure stuff. I think if you just had a monster movie, like some of the ones where we see where the monsters are introduced, like Ghidra or Mothra, or any of the ones that kind of in the Toho verse who get introduced and then become part of the Godzilla franchise, you could, if Godzilla was excised, not to say that would be a different movie, but you could have that scientists adventuring and dodging giant insects, and that would have been great. And then discovering this long lost girl who's excited, like, oh wow, what's Tokyo like? I think that that's kind of cool too. That you could have that movie. I think the final part where we have the danger from the experiment finally works, which is going to make it snow on the island. And even then, they don't bring it down just a few degrees. So when they make it, there's a lot. We never see this climate change stuff really. I don't remember seeing it in the other films. Acknowledged. As far as I remember, the closest is the gas distributors that we get on Monster Island that kind of keep the monsters at bay. They keep them on the island. But in general, we don't really see this. But there's a lot to answer to. The experiment's successful, but it's so successful that by the end, it's freezing the ocean around the island.
Right.
And, they even have to fill in like, no, it's okay. We're going to...
Everything's gonna be
it'll
fine.
thaw out eventually, and the reptiles will come back. It's cool.
I mean, all the
But
other
I
animals
also
would be dead,
love...
but whatever.
Yeah, I also really like the Godzilla, and I realized, that, like in some of the box sets, there's or some of the DVD collections, there's scenes where they cut where Godzilla was kind of being more mean, and in the interest of making it a little bit more, adhering to the formula, they kind of cut some of that out. That Godzilla still has this reluctance to get, I got the son, but he's adopted, and he's always comes back to trying to take care of his new kid. And I think that's great too, because sometimes as a parent, there's some days where you're just like, oh, I just need a break.
Yes.
But Godzilla always comes to the rescue. I really do like how much they've done with the baby Godzilla with Minilla. He's the way he moves and the danger, the Julia pointed out several times, you really do get that sense of danger, and you want him to, like, I don't want this creature to be hurt. Please,
Right.
Godzilla, save him. But his concern over his newfound dad whenever Godzilla gets poisoned is also really great. And it's the really strange,
his desperate desire to be able to use his fire. Once he learned how to use his fire breath,
yeah.
in that one scene, he's like so excited, he jumps up and down. But then he can't do it again later. He still has the little smoke rings, and so then he's like, trying so hard, and then he finally is able to, and you're like, yeah, you're like cheering
exactly.
especially when they're doing it together, like father-son teamwork.
Oh, I love that. That's such a great.
So
There's
great.
your father's. I mean, that's your Father's Day moment right
So
there.
great.
The
So
family who flames together, something
stays
something
together.
together. Yeah,
exactly.
And it's also just even their hibernation moment. It's kind of sweet,
Absolutely.
I want a snow globe of the two of them.
Please make that.
Oh, that
God,
would be
I'm begging you.
amazing. I want that so bad right now.
If you had any skill for sculpting things, that would be so great.
Oh, that would be great.
You have a friend who's really good at that, by the way, from
That's true.
Our monster movie happy hour friend David.
That's right.
Hey David,
totally
listen
do
to this. You have homework.
Yeah.
Yes.
we want
I'm
to
sure
see the father and son.
There's probably sculpts, like especially like mini like blind box figures that I bet you could get to mold into that. Oh man, that would be such a good snow globe.
Yeah.
And if you could triple, quadruple points actually, if it was a wind up, had a music box that played the funky
little theme, the opening theme.
Yeah,
I just loved it from the beginning. I was like, oh my gosh, this is the most fun theme. I just wanted to put on like a fringe dress and just shake,
It's a very Western theme. It's a very like Exotica, Les Baxter style theme, much more so than the previous Godzillas. It sounds like really cool big band. It reminds me a lot of Gargantua's, by the way.
I have to double check and see if that's on the Rhino sets that came out. I think it might be. It's been a while since I've listened to those, but there's an excuse to go listen to those. Terrible. Quote unquote excuse, I guess.
Let's get our final thoughts. Julia, what did you think of Son of Godzilla? I know we've been talking this whole time, but just to summarize.
I think that it kind of hits on all the points, because the performances, even though it's kind of they're kind of thankless roles for these poor guys who are just trying to science out there, except for the kind of the two head guys who are a little bit villainous, But you got some, good performances with them, good performance with the little island girl. But really, the monster, the people who are puppeting and in the suits are the greatest. Those are the best performances of all. Those were amazing. I think the effects were all really well done, and the music. I think we've talked about all that, and then just the themes that are explored, not just the father and son and all that stuff, but also the just like who cares if we trash this island? Who cares if we, like, who cares if people die because I lied to them and whatever, all those themes are really interesting. So I thought it was great, and like I say, I'm gonna have to just get over my upsetness that we didn't do this sooner
That
than
we
we
never
did.
that it's taken us 11 years to get around to this film.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, our sound is
It
much
wasn't
better now.
intentional. I mean, I didn't. Yes, I would direct you towards more of these if I had known. But it does make me super happy that a Godzilla movie suggestion brought so much joy. I mean, that's amazing. Like I said before, I have the book Godzilla. We love you every time, and I think that there's a lot to learn in life on that, and I just think it's great that you enjoyed it this much.
Cool.
It's awesome.
Wonderful.
And I guess that would be probably part of my final thoughts. Like I
Yes.
do really like this movie. I think it's a lighter Godzilla movie. It's not. There are other Godzilla movies that perhaps I prefer, even ones that have a few that have more monster wrestling and stuff like that. But I think, especially for a Father's Day movie, keeping things light in this time, I'm glad that this was available. I'm glad we hadn't covered it so that we could use do this now. So
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of great parts, and again, I kept thinking of Jason too with all your Tiki book stuff. This is, to me, the most Tiki of Godzilla movies.
Well, that's certainly true for
overall.
the shirts, but what you're lacking in Tiki-ness is there aren't any there's no like idyllic jungle paradise here. There's no
You don't
Tiki
think
gods.
living
What do you
on
mean?
Well,
an
there is
island-
until the monsters show up.
Yeah.
It
Right.
totally is.
Yes, fair.
It's
I'm just saying
Jason
that
just can't get around the irradiated prehistoric monsters.
Right.
Yes.
But
Fair.
for
Which maybe
those,
more Tiki should have that.
But
I
there's
don't
no like there are the tea torches and everything, that correct, but there's no like statues of gods. There's no dancing natives chanting stuff and
well, maybe
jungle
there's
drums.
maybe there were some, and then they got irradiated by all the.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Yes.
These guys just killed them.
Absolutely. Good. God knows what kind of scientific experiments they've been doing here. I mean, they could have like set off a bomb that shrunk everybody else down to like teeny tiny size. And they would-
That's the sequel.
yes.
It's like you find out that there's this whole civilization.
Yeah. Drew.
but score and
sorry.
everything, that's why I kept coming back to it. So
Oh, the
Yep.
score is amazing. Yes. I apologize for interrupting. Monsieur Drew, what about you?
This was the right time to do it. I agree with Tony. This was a perfect Father's Day monster movie, and it was a childhood favorite in my household, so I had a good time revisiting it. I think that this is it's a good Godzilla movie. I don't care what anybody says. If love and
Excellent.
song, I don't want to be right.
Love it. Thank you very much. Wow. So that comes to me. Well, you've heard everything that I thought about it. I was dancing when the opening music came around. Yeah, Julia and I seem to be very much of the same mind on this. And today I've gotten to celebrate Father's Day with my 20-year-old daughter got me a Batman shirt, and Julia got me a Marvel shirt, and so
Well, and I
and
got
we
and I found this awesome Dracula.
yeah, and we
Um,
talked about Godzilla. My point is that it all comes together. So
yeah, but I was gonna say the
yeah,
book that I got you is this Dracula. It's like a thing that was used in the original productions of Dracula. It's like from I don't remember what
the
year.
Edward Gorey
Yeah, and it's like these like
yeah.
model patterns and stuff for you to use, and it's really good, really interesting book. But anyway, yeah, that was fun.
So this fit into my Father's Day celebrations entirely. So yeah. Okay, let's get our endorsements. So anything that you've managed to watch or listen to in the last week that you really want people to pay attention to. Don't be afraid to be repetitive, because I know there's been a lot of stuff going on recently, and so you may end up talking about something that you've talked about before, and that would be okay. But I think we started with Julia. Julia, do you have anything for us?
Yeah, I am enjoying finishing up we watched the second to last episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi. I think that's a really interesting show and fun. We're enjoying all the Star Trek, well, the Strange New Worlds and then Orville. But I wanted to talk about something that I binge watched on Netflix, which is I think it's called God's Favorite Idiot. Is that it? But anyway, it's the Melissa McCarthy
Hmm.
comedy, and it's really good. I really, really enjoyed it. It's funny and it's really thought provoking. It's a lot like, if you like The Good Place, it's a lot like The Good Place. It's kind of, some spiritual themes, but it's not like it's not religious. It's just some spiritual themes, some themes about, what makes people good or bad, and then it's just funny. I mean, Melissa McCarthy is so funny, and her husband, whose name has just escaped me. I forget his name, but anyway, they're both in it, and they both are they created it basically together. It's a great show, so I recommend that one.
Wonderful. Thank
Oh
you.
yeah, Rain was watching that. It looked pretty funny.
Tony, what about you?
Several things. Oh, by the way, I should clarify, because I'm sure there's some Godzilla fans who are eye rolling through some of this, that it's Minilla, like as in Gojira, right?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
mini Godzilla. So
Yes.
the L's will be R's, Minilla.
Sure. Right.
Uh,
Oh, and
but
Ben
we
Falcone.
but I fall into the where I've listened to it enough that I'm so used to Minya,
Yeah.
like that I fall into that trap. But the official is Minira,
Sure.
as in
And my
But the
correction is Ben Falcone is the husband of Melissa McCarthy. Anyway, go ahead.
I just wanted to point out that Gojira was called Gojira because they were interested in a word that would combine the ideas of God and gorilla, because they wanted something like
I've always
whale.
heard it's
Like King Kong.
Godzilla, gorilla, and whale.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
But the point is that ILLA business, it was that first, and then translated came out first time hitting the public as IRA. My point is, this is a silly thing to be obsessing about, because not for you.
No, I
but for
know,
anybody.
but you know how it is. I would be remiss
I do know
if
how
I
it is,
didn't
yes.
also clear it up, and I'm gonna be a bad. Also, considering I'm supposed to know my stuff about Godzilla, so
Fair.
For as far as endorsements go, I have a few things. Actually, for old school anime fans, Netflix just put out the Spriggan series. I forgot how many episodes. I want to say it's like 6 episodes, but based on it goes back to being based on the manga, which is a paramilitary group that also protects the Earth from horrible things that have been unleashed from the past. Various arcane things that exist based on a tablet, an ancient Hebrew tablet that's warning us of all these things happening. And our 16-year-old protagonist has this suit that's powers him up and allows for insane martial arts moves. There was an OVA years ago, and the manga series, and it's really like I haven't made it too far, but boy, is it pretty rad. And we also caught up on the new Kids in the Hall. I know that's been out for a while, but that it's the best of new kind of feeling, as well as great Kids in the Hall humor. And they also we watched the series, and I didn't know it existed, or I would have watched it sooner. Death Comes to Town, which is a lot of kind of uncomfortable comedy. But it's done really well. It's the Kids in the Hall play multiple characters, and there's references to the original sketch show, and that's pretty awesome. And I'm also going to endorse, because it's up on Prime, Beyond the Infinite 2 Minutes, which, much like One Cut of the Dead, I don't want to say too much about this, but the premise is there's a coffee shop. A guy is at the coffee shop. He goes upstairs to his apartment and realizes that his monitor, which is also fed into the coffee shop, is 2 minutes ahead of his present time. And your mileage may vary, but it's really clever. I saw it at Fantastic Fest. It was a huge hit. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Third Window is also releasing that on Blu-ray, so you can get it on Blu-ray as well. But it's done in very few cuts, if it may have been one cut, but I'm trying to think. On iPhones, iPads, and it's really clever, really cool, and it gets just layers upon layers of kind of craziness. But starting with just a really simple concept of what if you had a portal into 2 minutes ahead of where you're at.
Yeah.
And then how they build on that is just really clever, really good. So I highly recommend that. And then I've also been watching Yakuza movies, detective movies like Go to Hell Bastard, which is
awesome.
Great title. But yeah, the main two though are Spriggan and Beyond the Infinite 2 Minutes. And I really think in both I think the movie is definitely, even if you're not an animation fan, at least Beyond the Infinite 2 Minutes is worth your time because it's really clever, really well done.
Thank you. Drew, what about you?
Well, Jamie and I started watching season of Russian Doll, which I know has been out for a while, but we didn't realize it, so we just now kind of started watching it. Also really good. I wasn't quite sure how they would do a new season of it. So instead of doing Groundhog's Day, which the first season really riffed on, this one's definitely more like a twisted version of Quantum Leap. I don't really want to say much more than that.
Okay.
Also, we just watched the movie X tonight, which I got a lot of positive buzz when it was in theaters, and it's quite funny. And definitely a throwback slasher, like late 70s, early 80s slashers, if that's something you're looking for. A lot of people compare it to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre because it came out around the same time as the Texas Chainsaw reboot from earlier this year. Despite the fact that it takes place in rural Texas, I don't think that's quite right. To me, it's a little too overtly humorous than Texas Chainsaw, which does have humor, but it's more subtle than this. To me, this is definitely more in vein like the early Friday the 13th movies. Like it's very much in line with that. It's got that kind of EC Comics, twisted sense of humor that those movies have. And I really like it. Again, if you like the horror movies from that era, I think that you'll find a lot to enjoy out of it.
Thank you very much. I don't have anything to endorse this week because I was in like all day and all night meetings and I didn't have I read, I would recommend
we really
this amazing.
enjoyed the Orville today.
Yeah, I'm loving the Orville, and Joy and I were remarking that if you think of the characters, you remember which is which, but if you think of the plot, it's really difficult to tell Strange New Worlds from the Orville because they are very close to the same show, and that's fine. It's like it makes me feel like it's a beautiful time to be alive. So, so happy Father's Day, and thank you everybody for being on, and for listening to us go on. About a movie about a baby Godzilla. I can't wait to figure out what we're going to be discussing next. And come to the Facebook page. We'd love to hear your recommendations too. We absolutely love it. Be excellent to one another, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Night.
Good night.